Cologne. Blueberry has guided Reese off the base and on to one of their smaller ships. They're currently on a trajectory to Pagos. No issues have arisen, I report to Skrion. All the preparations are complete then. Skrion says, we have completed the sensory preparations. I need to figure out where my mistake was. If I want to make a crystal, given the results of my last attempt.
You're just going to ignore her.
I've heard all this before.
I know, but it's been a bit since you procured a sacrifice.
Not long enough for me to reasonably forget.
That's just how Skrion is. She worries about you and the other Aria.
The schedule of which Akkus will visit, all the necessary equipment preparations. Skrion continues to drone on. I've observed enough blubberds to know what resources are necessary for crystal production.
So we are just going to ignore her.
I'm either missing a required ingredient, have the wrong proportions, or I'm missing a part of the process.
Likely.
And you're no help as always. I've tried about a quarter of the possible proportion combinations, and I've gone through all my current theories regarding what possible ingredient or part of the process could be missing.
So you'll go through the rest of the proportion combinations then, which was your plan before this little monologue, and a while before that. Might as well focus on Skrion's review if all you're going to do is think about plans you've already made.
All the more reason to get this sacrifice over with. Then I can make some progress. Reese. Alright, this, plan, for lack of a better word, might not have been thought out to its full potential. Halfway thought out might even be generous, considering that I'm hurtling towards an icy wasteland in a tiny ship. Why did I think this was a good idea? I closed my eyes and squeezed Blueberry, bracing for impact. An impact that never comes. I open one eye and I'm surrounded by a blur of icy blue and white. What? Slips out of my lips as my heart threatens to beat out of my chest. We're burrowing through what looks like solid ice right now. The blurred colors are making me sick. I close my eyes. Blueberry starts squirming in my arms, so I look down at her as she flips over and blue letters stare back at me. I told you that you didn't need to worry about anything. You did. It's just kinda hard to believe when you're hurtling toward a lot of ice. I'm glad Blueberry has gotten good at lip reading. Given how much I'm shaking, my already questionable penmanship would be completely illegible. I suppose, Blueberry responds. We break out of the ice and we're hurtling toward the darkness. Skrion. The temperature drops a bit as the scent of flowers and crystals wafts into the room. I wish she wasn't so on guard at the crevice. This place should feel like a second home to her.
It's not out of the ordinary for young Aria to restrict their temperature while performing their job and in the crevice.
Reese just passed through the outer layer of ice, Cologne reports. Cologne is on top of things. The sacrifice is trapped. The necessary preparations are complete.
Everything is as it should be.
It is. Let's head to the meeting location, I say. All right, Cologne says.
Sounding indifferent.
It's a process.
It is nice to see her finally taking some initiative.
Reese. Well, we arrived in one piece, I say as I activate the digital recording log built into the suit. Partially because the complete silence is weird, and partially because it's never a bad idea to take advantage of the tools the base provides. The audio recording is pretty convenient, actually. Maybe that's why everyone back on the base always gave me grief for taking notes on a tablet. I glance down at Blueberry to see blue letters spelling out, of course, on her stomach. She's safe. I'm glad one of us is confident. Or two, Cologne's been quiet since we got on the ship. So where are we, I ask. It's very convenient that Blueberry can glow. With the ship having seen better days, Blueberry's the only source of light. We're so far down from the surface that no light reaches through the hole we made on our way in. I can't even make it out anymore. I can barely make out the world around me. I think it's all ice. The meeting location glows on Blueberry's stomach in pink letters. She's back. I guess now it's time to find her. And I don't know what she looks like. And being in the darkness complicates things somewhat. It can't be too hard, though. Look for something that isn't ice. Unless Cologne looks like ice. That could be a problem. She said she was humanoid, so she can't look too much like ice. I hope. Call Outlier, I say. No connection. Drats. Call Outlier, I repeat a bit louder. Blueberry starts squirming in my arms. I glance down at her stomach. I think it's the ice glows in blue. This is very advanced technology. The ice shouldn't be a problem. I don't think it should, at least. I'll look at it when we get back to Sheeta. I nod. That's a good idea. Cologne. We would have gone here quicker if it wasn't highly recommended that Ari Rhea use different meeting locations for each sacrifice. Repeat a location only after 5 sacrifices doesn't really make memorizing routes convenient.
You could always memorize some maps. My mistake. That takes time. Time better spent on crystals.
Exactly. Where are the dolly? Skrion asks as we get out of the serpents.
A few paces away from me being required to intervene.
Closing in on the sacrifice, I answer, stepping closer to Skrion to escape the cold and unfamiliar sense of the ice pocket. We better hurry then. I'm not going to lose a sacrifice to a Dallas. I may not care about capturing sacrifices, but I don't make beginner first lesson mistakes.
Most don't after the first one.
Reese. I'm starting to think the idea that Cologne looks like ice was something I should have seriously considered. I'm convinced there's nothing here but ice. Every time I shine my flashlight somewhere to illuminate a bit more of the darkness, I'm met with more ice. I'm getting farther and farther from Starburst. Molly's going to be mad I wrecked her favorite ship. Why did I think this was a good idea? Why did I follow a random alien I just met to a planet I've never been to before? Stop, Reese. Just look at all the ice. You'll see Cologne soon. Just ask Blueberry what she looks like. See? Everything's fine. Hey, I start and stop when I hear a scraping sound. What was that? I whisper, holding up Blueberry to see her stomach. Potentially a problem? Great. There it is again. What was that? Should I run? Any advice, Blueberry? It might be nothing. They rarely appear in this type of ice pocket. Hopefully, but who exactly are they? A long tail whips out in front of me and I barely manage to jump back in time. I look up, and finally, I can see it. The huge skeleton of a monster. The whole creature is covered with a rough, grayish white skin that looks like it's made of bones. Its chest is broad, but covered in holes that make it look like a spider web or a stained glass window with the glass removed. There are gaps in its arms and legs that look like the gaps between bones. Its whip-like tail is made out of segments like a backbone. It might be as long as the creature is tall. I don't think I can outrun it. I have to try. I tighten my grip on Blueberry and run into the darkness. I'm going to die. I'm going to die because I followed an alien to some strange planet. The scraping sound becomes repetitive. It's starting to chase after me. I'm going to die. No, I have to keep running. I'm going to live. There's a quick, snappier sound. I fall and crash into the ground. I'm going to die. I get up and start running again. My helmet cracked. I'm going to die. Reese! A sparkly blur passes me. Did someone just call out my name? Why are you slowing down? Keep running, Reese. Keep running. Blueberry starts squirming, and I run into something. I stumble back, fall again, panic to pick up my flashlight and aim it directly up at the girl in front of me. A human girl. I shift my flashlight away from her face so I'm not shining it directly in her eyes. Sorry, I say, getting a better look at her now that I'm shining the light off to the side. She's a blue human girl, but a human girl. At least she looks like a human. A human with weird pinkish-purple markings on her face and a long strand of glowing pinkish-purple jewels in her hand attached to the thing that was chasing me. The thing now frozen in place, held down by a bunch of those jewel strands. Don't worry. Are you okay? She asks, holding out her hand. I take it. I think so, thanks, I say as I stand up, starting to feel the situation catch up to me. Sorry I ran into you. I told you, don't worry about it. I should apologize. If I had been a bit more thorough when I chose a meeting place, this wouldn't have happened. She's speaking in English. You're Clone, I say, stating the obvious. She looks human, except she's blue. While she's not entirely blue, her colors match Blueberry, or Blueberry matches her. Her skin and hair are different shades of blue, with her long hair being a slightly darker shade. Her long, pure white fur gown looks like a cross between a robe and a ball gown. It's covered with pinkish-purple jewels that match Blueberry's spots. She's wearing a thin silver circlet and matching necklace with the same pinkish-purple jewels. And of course, there's the weird pinkish-purple markings on her face that look like sharp, stylized flowers or symbols from a satanic summoning circle. Were you expecting someone else? She asks with a smile that almost looks like a smirk. She really does look human. Like a weird human, granted. Well, not too weird. She's rocking an alien or fantasy princess vibe. But those marks are weird. No, but would it be rude to say I didn't expect you to look so human? She did say she was humanoid, but she looks so human. You weren't convinced I wasn't a giant blubbert? She asks. Her smile almost becomes an undeniable smirk for a second before it falls back into a sweet grin. Something like that, I answer. Blueberry starts squirming again. Too tight, glows on her stomach. Sorry, I didn't want to drop you, I say, trying to make sure my grip isn't as tight when I bring her back to my chest. I'm alive. Neat. I like being alive. Are you okay? Clone asks. Her eyes dart back and forth between Blueberry, me, and the thing that was chasing us. She looks a little worried. I'm not injured, I assure her, and her smile returns. Thank Vetus. Let's head to Sheeta, she says. Yeah, sounds good, but what about the creature being held back by your jewel strands? I ask. It's still frozen in place, more literally than just being held down by strands. It's so still, almost like it's under a spell. Is it dead? I'll hold her down until we leave, Clone answers with a reassuring smile. I nod. The monster is still alive. I take a step closer to her. She's huge, even hunched over on her knees. She must be at least 2 meters tall. Her chest isn't just broad, it's steep, like the tangled branches of a forest. You could probably display bits and baubles in the bone-like gaps in the chest like you would a shelf. Every part of her is covered in the bone-like skin. Every part of her that I can see, at least. Part of her is covered by a gray fur cloak long enough to make one of Clone's dresses. Was she trying to kill me? I ask. Trying to eat you? Yes, Clone answers. Clone, leave the choice to kill or spare the dullest to your blubbert.
Are you doubting my judgment?
You would find that funny. No, I'm just glad I don't have to make that judgment. Reese has reminded me how much training I would need to perform that judgment accurately.
Time isn't a limited resource for me.
As I always ask, you're immortal then? And as you always answer, I've never seen a blubbert die.
As always.
Reese. I follow Clone away from the creature. The jewel strand gets taut as we walk away. It snaps, leaving a single jewel in Clone's hand. And the creature is still frozen. What will happen to her? I ask. Clone stops and turns back to the creature. Once we leave, she'll be able to move again, unharmed. That's good. The conversation drops off, and Clone starts twirling the jewel between her fingers like an idle animation in a video game. Those jewel strands are pretty cool, I say. Clone's eyes light up. They're pretty cool even when they're not in strands, she says. What can they do when they're not in strands? Could they still freeze the monster? For one, they're permitting you to survive Pagos' atmosphere and climate without your protective gear. My helmet's damaged. I should be suffocating or freezing to death. Blueberry squirms my arm, so I hold her up. I placed some crystals on your face to ensure you wouldn't die. Thanks, I appreciate not dying. So, do you both have those crystals? Crystals are a biological function of the blubberts. Currently, the function hasn't been replicated outside of them. Clone answers. Currently? Is someone trying to figure out that process? Or was it different in the past? I see something other than ice in the distance. Another girl and a giant snake. I turn around and start running. Reese, that's our ride! Ride?